heels. Find a soft focal point for your eyes and let gravity take a hold of your pelvis, your shoulders, your jaw. You may notice a little resistance to that, which is great information. Just notice the quality of your breath and see if you can give space to some reorganization towards softness, towards ease. We'll do the second side. Come up to stand on your shins. Left foot out to the side. Your foot is at a slight angle. Just find the parallel to the short edge of the mat a little bit extreme on the ankle joint. So find the right angle for you so you're balanced and your foot is flat. Lean your left hand down the leg to your shin bone, your outer shin, right arm up alongside your head. Take a long, slow inhale and kind of puff out those back ribs. That'll automatically bring your front ribs down. Then with your exhale, hug your legs towards one another and see if you can sway your torso more to the left. Remember, the structural support from your lower half can lend some ease to the upper torso. If you're not feeling that, just back off a bit. One more breath. And inhale, come up. I'm going to return to Vajrasana. Sit back on your heels. Of course, sit on a prop or don't sit all the way back if your knees don't want this. And find a soft focal point for your eyes. Allow for the possibility of a reorientation to ease internally. And you may keep your blanket down where it is if you're using one. Just turn yourself towards the top edge of your mat again. Come onto hands and knees. Find your way. Well, before we do this, I'm going to give an option. We're moving towards twisted triangle. Yesterday when I was practicing this sequence, that sounded horrible to me. So instead of twisted triangle, I practiced revolved child's pose to get a twist and to get some opening across the low back rather than contraction, which twisted triangle really is. So that's an option for you. Take revolved child's pose if that's your choice. I'm going to speak the instructions for twisted triangle. Just for this one, I'm going to mirror so you can hear me. I'll stay turned towards the camera. Come into down dog. And please step your right foot forward. Pivot your back heel down and feel into the possibility that you need to shorten your stance or widen it so that here you have a sense of real access to the ground through your legs. Like your legs can be very, very stable here. You could lift your hands, no problem. Maybe a block underneath your left hand. Certainly bring your right hand to your outer right hip. We did this on the floor. And bring your outer right hip away from your right armpit. Inhale and lengthen your spine. As you exhale, begin to turn your ribs toward the right. Option to reach your right arm to the ceiling. Inhale and find your length. I'm going to speak to you instead of demonstrating the pose. Exhale, find your strength. Push the floor down and out with your feet. And hug your front ribs toward your hip joints as you widen across your collarbones. Inhale, find your length. Exhale, find real strength in the legs. Revolve any amount in your upper torso all the way through your neck. If that doesn't feel good or you can't breathe, look down. Last breath, make as much space through that central channel as you can. And then release and step back to down dog. If you feel like doing some push-ups, that modified up dog we did, or a more straightforward Chaturanga up dog sequence, feel free. Maybe cow cat is more what your body's calling for. If you were in revolved child's pose, come up and we'll move to the other side. So from downward facing dog, step your left foot forward now. Again, find the space, the distance between your feet that allows you to lift your hands up off the floor, even for a moment, a brief moment, without feeling like you're going to fall. And then your right hand is the base. Bring your left hand to your outer left hip and press your outer left hip away from your left armpit. You can also think left butt bone towards inner right thigh. Inhale, find your length. Exhale, find strength in your legs, in your torso by bringing ribs to hips. And then inhale, open across your collarbones. Start to turn your chest more to the left. Reach your arms out wide. Your left hand can also stay on your hip or your low back. Few deep breaths here. There's a slight pulsation. You can think about what we were doing with Om, even humming, if that's supportive for you. Anything to feel spacious internally. So there is definite engagement and strengthening happening in the outer structure so that our inner structure can be a little more buoyant. And then release. Step back to downward facing dog, hold there, come to cow cat, modified vinyasa or full chaturanga up dog sequence. And then if you have a blanket on your mat, please move it out of the way. Shift forward to plank or onto hands and knees and lower all the way down onto your belly. Rest your forehead down. I'm going to keep my face off the mat just so you can hear me, but put your forehead on the mat. One at a time, lift and lengthen your legs. And see if you can bring your toe tips together to touch. Fan the other toes out away from the big toe. Behind your back, interlace your hands, opposite thumb on top. Keep your elbows bent or straighten them and reach away from your head with your knuckles. Take a long, slow, deep inhale. Find length across the sides of your neck. As you exhale, lift your navel to your spine, press your pubic bone down, and lift your head, your chest, your legs, your arms. Stay for your inhale, find length. Exhale, find strength. You know what to do. Strengthen the lines of the pose. From your shoulders to your wrists, from your hips to your ankles, widen and soften internally. Feel for the possibility of that. Good. On your next exhale, release. Bring your hands to the floor under your shoulders. Simply press up to Sphinx pose. So elbows come forward. I'm going to put my glasses back on. And you're going to angle your left forearm towards the right. So bring your left hand over towards your right wrist. Lean to the left a little bit and reach back for your right foot. If you can grab the inner arch, grab the inner arch. If you can't really touch the foot, here's an option for you. You can do something wildly different to get the quadricep stretch, because that's what we're after here. If you're on your belly, reach back, take a hold of the inner arch of your foot, and this might be quite a lot of stretch for you. If there's more mobility available to you in your shoulder and your quad, turn your fingers to face forward, the same direction as your toes. Press your heel towards your butt cheek. There should be no compression in your low back here. To mitigate that, if there is some, press your pubic bone down and actually lift your navel away from the floor a little. Inhale, long through the sides of your neck. Exhale, press the floor with your pubic bone, your left leg, lift your navel. Last breath. And release. Come to Sphinx pose, a little wiggle in the hips. Angle your right forearm to the left so your fingertips touch the left wrist. Roll to your right a little bit and reach back, grab your inner left foot. This might not work. If you would rather be in a twisted lunge, bring your right foot forward, reach back, take that foot. On your belly, take a hold of the inner edge of your left foot, and if your shoulder is happy, if there's more room in your quadricep, rotate your hand. Your heel's gonna start to come in right away. Rotate your hand so your fingers point forward, grab your toes, press your heel toward your butt. And now turn your chest forward again. Inhale, lengthen your neck. Exhale, press your pubic bone down and lift your navel off the floor. Maybe you exhale out your mouth one or several times. Feel for the initiation of space making from the root of your throat all the way down into your low belly and your pelvis. And release. You might be done. If you're done and you need about a minute's rest, make a pillow for your forehead with your hands, widen your feet, and rest on your belly in Makarasana. Otherwise, lower your chest, hands outside ribs, lift and lengthen each leg so your big toe knuckles touch again. Keep your chest slightly lifted, face parallel to the floor. Bend both knees, flex both ankles. Press your pubic bone down as you kick your heels toward the ceiling. You're going to feel your hamstrings light up. This could be it. You could add a little bit of cobra action here, or reach back for Dhanurasana, grab your ankles, kick your ankles into your hands, keep pressing your pubic bone down and pulling your navel up. Inhale, lengthen your neck. Exhale, strengthen your torso. 2 more breaths. Inhale, and with an exhale, release. Slowly, very, very slowly, tenderly make your way to child's pose. Any variation on child's pose that you like, knees together or apart, arms forward or back, anything in between. And slowly rise. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. We're very nearly there. Widen your legs into a straddle position. And the starting point, you want to feel like pretty neutral in the spine. So not a lot of effort to sit up tall. Definitely not a rounded spine. Lift your butt up off the floor with props if you are rounding a lot or if your legs are rolling way back. Without a lot of effort, you want to start from toes pointed straight up and spine pretty upright. We are folding forward here. There's no goal as far as the depth of forward fold. My body naturally folds forward really easily, so I like to have a barrier. If that's you also, a couple of blocks, a bolster, a rolled up blanket so you don't just flop into your flexibility is what I recommend. Also deliberately bending your knees a little bit and super flexing your ankles. Take a long, slow inhale wherever you're starting from. Press the floor with your fingertips. And as you exhale, imagine you could actually sink your sits bones into the floor. So there's a little bit of pelvic floor engagement here. Inhale, soften your hips a bit. You might actually feel this kind of descent in the pelvic floor muscles. Exhale, root your hips down and begin to hinge forward through the torso. I'm interested for myself, who's a bit hypermobile, in keeping a rounded spine. So navel draws away from the floor, maybe even away from your prop. If you're just like hinging forward a few degrees and sensing a lot of stretch, then by all means draw your chest out and away and find length. Use your hands as scaffolding here to keep weight in the pelvis. From that weight in the pelvis, see if you can give weight to your head also. So there's just a natural descent in the lower jaw, your shoulders, your head. In the privacy of your own practice, feel free to explore a hum, an om, a gentle sway, allowing for coherence through the central channel, from pelvis to skull, from mouth to gut, from desire to self-expression. Slowly come up. Move your props out of the way. Narrow the angle of your legs a bit. Lean back into your hands and just kind of flop your legs back and forth. Quite a deep forward fold to end our practice. It's one of my favorites. It might not be yours. Which is okay. Certainly if you have a knee replacement or present moment knee pain, then I'm going to ask you to just practice Paschimottanasana. So inner feet, inner knees, inner thighs touching or moving towards each other, probably a rolled up blanket behind your knees and a forward fold following similar instructions from the previous pose. If your knees are feeling down to party this morning, then you are going to turn back towards the short edge of your mat. Have a blanket nearby, something that can possibly lift your pelvis. Lean to your right, bend your left knee and bring the top of your left foot to the floor outside your pelvis. So half Virasana in the left leg. Your knees should be touching or very close to touching. Your left knee straight forward from your left hip joint. If you have cramping in your ankle, your foot, sit on something. Lift some weight off of the left leg. Now again, deliberately bend your right knee just a little bit. Flex your right ankle like crazy. Inhale, find some length through your torso. And as you exhale, draw the sides of your waist back. Pull your navel away from your thighs as you hinge forward any amount. We're going to take this slowly because it's really possible to overdo it. Press the floor with your fingertips and sink your weight back into your pelvis. From there, from that feeling of deep groundedness, see if you can just let the weight of your head and your shoulders naturally create the fold. If there is a sense of compression on your breath or like that inner channel is collapsing, lift your chest, gaze slightly forward, and establish a nice and fluid breath. If you sense there is room to deepen the forward fold, come forward a bit more. Continue to use your hands. And on an inhale, slowly walk your hands in to lift your chest. Lean to your right and extend your left leg forward slowly. If you were in Paschimottanasana, you're going to move into legs up the wall, or Apanasana, which is knees to chest, for when we do the other side. I'm going to keep this blanket under my pelvis. It felt really supportive. Lean to your left, bend your right knee, and bring the top of your right foot to the mat outside of your pelvis. You want the whole top of your foot down on the mat. If you're rolling in toward big toe knuckle, you need to lift your pelvis. Deliberately bend your left knee a bit, super flex the ankle. Use your hands to help you lift the ribs and telescope distance between your ribs and your pelvis. Now with your exhale, get super strong in your legs. You might hug them together a little bit and hinge forward any amount. Walk your hands forward to support your descent. Take it slow. Push forward and down with your hands to keep your anchor point in the pelvis, and then slowly melt your head, your shoulders, your jaw. Stay attentive, attuned to any resistance in the release, and seek out the sweet spot, the in-between place where it's not just effort, it's not just complacency, but a little bit of a dance between the two. A little bit of a dance between significant effort and almost no effort. Slowly walk your hands in, lift your chest, lean to your left to slowly stretch your right leg out. Come off any props that you were seated on. If you're on your back already, then just slide your legs out straight for Shavasana, or you can stay in legs up the wall if you're there and you're comfy. I'm not going to practice Shavasana with you today. I'm going to stay seated, but I invite you to take this time to seek out the most comfortable reclined position for yourself. It might be a lot of props involved, especially if you have them. A little support for your neck, maybe something behind your knees, slightly propped up legs if you want to rest in Supta Baddha Konasana, that's butterfly legs. I recommend using something under your knees. So again, it's not just flopping, but there's a little bit of a boundary. This is where we find our true resting point. This is the marker of a fully functioning nervous system where we're not completely shut down or hypervigilant, but there is something like neutral where we can rest and then respond appropriately in any given moment. It's absolutely a practice. There's no such thing as perfect. There's always a little bit of short-circuiting that is inevitable. But if you give yourself deliberate time, such as your yoga practice, to tap into what that feels like to be neutral, it is much easier to get there in moments of crisis or overwhelm. Start to settle in for deep rest. We'll rest for a few minutes together. Perhaps you can hear bird song or a child laughing, noises of your family, your neighborhood. With the soft shells of your ears, welcome those sounds. Welcome your community into your present moment. Resting there, resting in this moment of reality. let yourself be a part of the earth for as long as you like. If you are ready to or need to, begin to move out of rest, slowly, gently make your way to a cross-legged seated position. You can keep your eyes closed in the transition to carry the rest with you for a little longer. Of course, if you have more time and space to rest, I encourage you to take it. We'll close this time together with Om as we practiced it at the beginning, sounding Ah, U, from the root to the crown, closing with one full round of Om. Join your hands together. Inhale. Thank you for your practice this morning. Namaste.